Okay, so welcome back to the channel, everybody. So we've got a really exciting review for you today, and it's the brand new Titleist Vokey SM10 Wedges. Now, we know Vokeys are a leader in that wedge category, have been for many years. So in this video, I'm going to talk a lot about the technology of the wedge and provide you with some numbers from dry ball data in the studio. I would love to take these on the golf course, get them hitting off turf, but unfortunately in the UK, the courses have been shut for the last few months with wet weather. We've now gone into snow and ice, so I can't get on the golf course. So that review will come separately, but this is going to be very much a techie talk about the new SM10 wedges with some spin numbers on dry ball data at some different yardages. So first glimpse of SM10, it looks very similar to SM9 on its first look. Clean back, we've got that chrome bar running across the back of it, SM10 stamp there, which was at SM9. We've got Vokey design, BV logo on there. So first glance, it looks very, very similar, but there is some different stuff happening in these wedges. So we'll talk a little bit about the finishes that are on offer. There's 4 different finishes. We've got the Tour Chrome, which is probably the most popular option, I would say. We've got a new nickel finish, which is a slightly darker finish to the Tour Chrome. Beautiful look, to be honest. Slightly darker appearance, a bit less glare. And then we've got the jet black, which again has been in previous models. Very obviously darked out for that ultimate protection, maybe on that glare look if you're playing those sunnier climates. There is a 4th finish available, which is the raw finish. Obviously that will go rusty, but that is a custom option only and probably will be a higher price point. So stay tuned to this video, because just later on we're going to hit some shots from different distances with different lofts and just take a look at those spin numbers in that dry ball data. So the SM10 family now comprises of 6 different grind options. So that has increased from what we've seen in SM9. We've obviously got now more bounce options. So we've got bounces running from all the way from 14 degrees of bounce down to 4 degrees of bounce. So there's a combination of 25 different options here in these wedges with the different finishes as well. So there's a huge choice to go at, which I understand can be very confusing for you as a consumer looking in. What's grind? What does grind mean? What grind is right for me? What loft is right for me? So what I would always say with wedges now, and obviously all these options become available, it's so important to go and get fit. Try these different wedges. And Titleist have actually just launched a new fitting software for wedges, which will be coming into most of the wedge fitting retailers. So we will have one here at Penrith Golf, which is a fantastic little app. I got fitted for my SM10s with Titleist using that app, and it was pretty in depth, and it gave us a great way of understanding what grind would work for me. And then obviously then I would go in to test those and see how I would feel and the flight that I was actually looking for. So let's delve into the tech inside the head. What's different to SM9 and maybe previous models? So there's a new refined center of gravity location in these heads, and we haven't heard this before with center of gravity in wedges. This has been, it's now a progressional center of gravity movement as per the loft of the golf club. So in simple terms, in those lower lofts in the wedges, so the 46 to 52 degrees, the center of gravity will positioned slightly lower. So that gives us a nice progression from the center of gravity in your set of irons into those fuller shot wedge lofts, the 46 to 52. And then as you move into those higher lofted, so 54 degrees all the way up to 62 degrees, the center of gravity then moves higher up the club face. They do that by positioning more weight at the back top section of the club. We don't see that in that playing position, because obviously as the loft gets increased, we don't see that thicker top line away. So they hide it extremely well, but essentially that's going to pull that center of gravity higher up in the club face. So when that happens, we strike it lower in the face in relationship to that center of gravity location. That provides a little bit more of a lower, more consistent flight for those more lofty clubs, but will also generate more spin. Easy way to think of it is if you hit a driver low in the face, what's it typically do? It will come out low and it'll have more spin, so you get that really weak ball flight in a way, which is obviously not very good with the drive in terms of getting distance. But with wedges, it's really good because it gets a lower flight but packs it with a lot more spin, so it's that control aspect as you come into those greens. Definitely saw that as I'm hitting these shots with the SM10s, is that flight was quite nice and low. You can tell when you get that little low nippy strike, you could see it wasn't low and powerful where you think it's just going to land and release. It would hop, skip and really sort of pull quite tight. So the spin number was impressive with that lower ball flight. So we can't talk about wedges without mentioning the grooves, and we always know they're going to do something different to these grooves. Now in theory there is obviously limits to the depth of these grooves within the regulations. So what they're doing now is getting a little bit more precise on these, and the groove depth and width is changing again as per the lofts. So in those less lofted wedges, the 46 through to 54 degrees, those grooves grooves are cut narrower and deeper. Again, a nicer transition on from your iron set. And then in those higher lofted, so your 56 to 62, they're cut wider and shallower. So trying to generate as much spin in those higher lofted wedges. And then what they're doing is that there's a heat treatment that goes through the process here. So each of these grooves are individually cut for absolute precision, heat treated to maintain the durability of the corners, the edges of these grooves. They're the one thing that will probably wear out the fastest with wedges. You know, you've got to think we hit a lot of shots with wedges in sand, grime, dirt, grit is just going to wear and round off those edges, potentially losing those spin. So heat treated just helps the durability of those edges of the grooves to help keep the spin for longer in the life of that wedge. Now the other thing that's changed in these wedges is the shape profile of it. Now it's a beautiful shape down by that golf ball. Again, in those lower lofted wedges, it's a little bit more compact, and then in the higher lofts, it becomes a little bit of a bigger footprint, with, you know, which would help with trying to open, you know, when you can start opening that club face up, a little bit larger footprint down there. Don't get me wrong, they're not massive by any means. Beautiful shape on these, but the head shape is just changing a little bit as per the lofts. So what I did, I hit some shots. TP5 golf balls from TaylorMade, premium ball, dry golf balls, dry club face, everything dry ball data, hitting some different shots here. So we started off with a 54 degree, hitting some 50-yard shots, and the feel off the club face was fantastic. I mean, I carry SM9s as it is, and I've really enjoyed those wedges. I've never changed away from them, but the SM10 probably just had that little bit of a softer feel, I thought, of first instincts. The look and the shape are very, very similar. It was hard to sort of tell the difference, but obviously when you look at the lofted ones, you could tell there was a little bit of a bigger footprint there by that golf ball. So you can see there with a 54 degree on those 50-yard shots, so a short shot there, generating some decent spin around that, just short of that 6,000 as an average. We then hit some 54 at 75 yards, so obviously a little bit more speed. We're going to generate, or we should generate, some more spin, and we did exactly that. Spin went up to 7,300, and then I moved into the 58 degree. So again, doing some little 50-yard shots with that, and again you can see that shot up to just short of 7,200 on the spin, and then obviously a little bit of a longer shot, that 75, moving up to 7,800. And obviously I will at some point, as soon as the weather conditions allows me to, the golf course is getting to a little bit of a better shape here in the UK, I'm going to jump out on that golf course and get hitting out of bunkers, off the grass, and obviously give you a little bit more feedback, maybe go through those grinds a little bit more in depth in that particular video, and give you some ideas how it interacts through the turf, and a bit of on-course testing. So these SM10s have been well received on tour. The first week they were introduced to the tour guys out on the PGA Tour. It was the most played wedge in that event, which is quite impressive, because I think wedges are always a personal thing for a lot of golfers. You know, the shapes, the looks. A lot of those tour guys definitely get very picky on those wedges, so that's obviously a massive boost for Titleist that it's been thrown in the bag to those golfers pretty much straight away. So post comments down below, let me know your thoughts on the new SM10 lineup from Titleist. Appreciate the watching the video as always, and hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.